Now in the direct mail campaign Podio application, there are actually going to be two ways to print letters. One by clicking a print letters button in the campaigns app, and the other, we're going to create an automated system, an automated Globiflow process that will check the mailings of all your campaigns, the mailing date of all your campaigns each day, and when that day hits, it's going to print the letters. So instead of having two processes with the same drawn out print letters process, we create one print letter process and then call that process from the different other Globiflow flows. So what you have to do here is create a manual process. So you create an add new flow, and then in the past we've just created a flow for item created and item updated. Now we want to do a manual flow. So we'll click this. It'll give you these options. So I want to manually flow campaigns, and from app it doesn't matter here. Now the filter, we want to run it every time it's called, so we don't have anything in the filters. And the action. So the first action we want to create is a reference. This reference is going to be to the mailings. Now we want to get what the campaign templates mailings are in terms of what is the current mailing we're on and what is the next mailing we're on. So in order to get access to that data, we need to get a reference item. So we find an action, and we scroll down until we find get referenced items. It'll ask you which app you want to get. So since we're starting in the campaigns app, that campaigns app references two different types of apps, the templates and the leads. In this case, we want to reference the templates, going forwards into that, and select using the field campaign template. We also want to continue through that because we need the mailings of that template. So we follow reference to another app. Now this templates app references the mailing, so we select that. We want to go into that, forward into it, and then select the using field for mailing templates. So now the next step is we have to create some variables, some placeholders to store some data so we can use it later on and use it to build our PDFs and merge our letters. So in this process, I'm creating 4 of them. So add 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll name these letter. Give it a value blank. And we have letter content. This is blank. So the letter is going to be the complete culmination of all the letters for the mailing. So all the leads that are associated with the campaign. The letter content will be the content of the letter that we will be using, so the templated version with the hashes for the merge fields. Now we also create a variable for days from start. Default that to 0, and number of mailings, and that will also be 0. This will be used when we grab the days from start of the mailing that we're on, and this is the number of total mailings that we have, so we can use it further on down the line, and you'll see with that. So the next thing we need to do is loop through all the mailings, or actually we have to find the mailing that matches our current sequence number that we'll be mailing out, and to do that here you have to loop through the mailings and compare the value of the current sequence number to the actual mailing sequence number that we've set up. So we will add a for loop, and next we will create a new variable, Now to access variables that you've created before, you can just use the create new variable field and then use the same name. In this case, we're actually we're going to reference the number of mailings. And we're going to increase it by 1. So we have that, and we take the variable for number of mailings plus 1. This helps us get a running total of how many mailings there are. Now we have to do a sanity check to see if this mailing is equal to the sequence number of the current mailing that we want to send out. So we do sanity check. We got the campaign next sequence mailing. Where is that? Right here. And we say equals, double equals. Single equals means it's an assignment that you're changing the value of this. Double equals is a comparison. So now we have to check the reference of the mailing that we're currently on in the loop. And that's sequence number. If they match, okay, well then we want to go into this process and create or get the letter sequence number. So we have to create a variable, call this letter sequence number, and we'll give that the value of a reference sequence number for the mailing. Now we have to do a search in the letters, or search for the letter that we'll be using. This is fairly easy to do. You find the search for item, select which app you want to search in. So we want to search in letters. Search the name field, equal to, reference, and letter. Reference, mailing, and letter. In this field. So now this is going to find the letter that we're going to be using as our template. And after that, we will grab that letter's content and place it in one of the variables we created before. Now to do this, you just use the custom variable calc field again. We're not really creating a new variable. We are referencing the other variable that we initiated above, up here. Use the same name, it uses that variable. And then for this, we are going to say that we're going to get the reference content, or the letter content. So we have the ref letter, and now the content. And now we will end the if statement here, because we are done with this little sub process of getting the letter and the letter content. And now what we have to do is, in order to advance the campaign sequence later on in this process, we have to get the values for the next letter in the process. So to do this, you put another if sanity check in here, and you check to see if the reference mailings that we're currently looping through sequence number is equal to the campaign's next sequence number plus 1. So what happens here is we're looping through the mailings, and we're on mailing number 2, and this is mailing number 2. It hits this and goes in here, and this is the mailing we're going to be sending out. But the loop continues on to mailing number 3, which fails here, doesn't fall into here, but becomes true here, and we go into this if statement in this little sub process, and we want to create the custom variable days from start, which we created up here, so we're just overwriting that value. And we will take the mailing, reference mailing days from start value, and store it in here for later use so we can calculate when the next mailing date will be. And finally, we just have to end this if process. Okay, so now we've done everything we need to do with the template information in terms of getting what we need for that, and we've looped through all the mailings, so now we have to end the loop here. So what we would use here is a continue field. So this just says when you're done with the loop, when you've hit all the items in the loop, so our 3 mailings, we will continue on to the next part of the process. And for that, what we do here now is we need to get the lead information, which leads are assigned to that campaign. So we have to get a reference, get reference items, select the leads reference item, which direction, we will be going reversed because we're going up the ladder instead of down the ladder, and using any field to lead campaign, and we're stopping here because we just want the lead information. And now we have to create another loop to loop through all the leads. So let's find a for each loop, select the reference leads. Now I forgot to select the for each on the mailings above. If you don't do this, it won't work. So come back up to for each loop, select ref mailing. I apologize, I forgot that before. Hopefully that doesn't confuse you. So now we're back down to looping through the leads. Now this is the fun part, because first we want to do a check to make sure we want to actually use this, mail to this lead. So we do a reference, check the lead's status. Scroll all the way down here, find the lead status. And want to say is not equals dead and ref status, lead ref status is not equal to responded. So this is pretty easy to read, but I'll go over it. I am checking. This is PHP code. I am checking whether the lead status value is not equal to dead, and means and the lead status is not equal to responded, which means that the lead status is mail. So the next thing we have to do is now update the letter content and replace the merge fields with the actual value of the field for the lead, with the lead information. So to do this, we have to create, in my case, I'm creating 8 variables to cover all the different merge fields that I have. So let's go down to create custom variable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll start at the top and we'll work our way down. So now we have, so I'm going to create a new variable called body, meaning the body of the letter content. And we're going to do a str replace, which is a string replace, colon city. So this value matches the merge field on my letter. So we go back to one of my letters. You see I have this city here, just like that. So that matches that. So that finds all instances of that string, and we want to replace it with the actual city of the lead. So we go down to the reference for the lead, and take the city field. Now you have to put a comma in here, because lastly we want to say where are we searching to find this reference, this merge field reference, and that is in the variable called letter content. Let me close that off, and then that is that syntax. Now the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are similar to this, so I am just going to cut and paste this. Put that here, 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 and here. And we're going to use body for all these, so body, 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 and body. So on this one, we're not going to use city, but we want to replace the address. So we have to replace these fields. So lead, address. This next one, we're replacing the state. If you try to type this in, replace it, it doesn't turn blue, which means that you have an invalid reference and it doesn't know what that means. So you always have to select it from this list. You can't just type it in. So lead state. Now we're on the zip. Like that. Delete. Select the lead and zip. Now this next one, I'll be replacing my name with, I'll hard code this in there. And you could have this placed somewhere in your Podio process or your Podio setup and reference it here, but I'm just hard coding in there because it's always going to be me. After this, the next one will be my phone. Again, I'm going to be hard coding this in. So we go 973 111 dash 1111. And these are strings, so you have to put quotes around any kind of string text that you're going to want to hard code in. And lastly, I want to replace my name, or just the name of the, not my name, but the lead's name. Delete that. We'll go with lead first name. Now this last variable is where we will combine everything. This one is combine everything into the letter variable, which we had set up all the way up here. And put it down here. What we are going to do here is take the letter, the variable letter that we already exists, the values, and we want to add on this new leads letter. So basically we're building a long list of letters in one variable. Now, if you just left it like that, it's going to print continuously on all the pages. There'll be no breaks, and you won't know one letter where one letter starts and one letter ends. Now, the cool thing about Globiflow and adding it or creating the PDF is it responds to some HTML, which then you can use what they call a div tag and set it to say there's a page break between each one of these letters. Now, I don't expect you to know the syntax for this. I didn't know it at first, and I had to copy it from somebody else. But this is basically what this is. It's a section that when it starts, there'll be a page break before it. So each letter there'll be a page break, and then the next letter will start on the next page. Now after this, we want to add in our body content. So our letter content that we just adjusted and fixed and replaced the mail merge fields up here. Now we can finish off the div tag by adding the end tag, which is the /div there. Close it off. Now we're finished with this. Forgot the string to pull that in there. Now we need to end the if. End if. And then continue because we are done with looping through the leads. So what this does is we loop through all the leads, we build our letter from the content into the body tag, into the body variable, and then the final one is to concatenate or add on the current leads letter to the overall list of letters that we have in this letters variable. So the next thing we will do is create a new variable. The variable we need to create is for the current sequence number. We need this value just so we can run some checks to see exactly where we are. And if we don't create it, then we risk by updating it in one of the if statements that we're going to create that it affects further on down the line when we check the value again to see if we're on the next mailing. So you'll see how this plays out. So we'll create a variable by clicking that and call it current sequence number, and we'll assign this to the campaign's current sequence number. So where is that? Campaign's next mailing sequence. Now we'll add an if statement. Let's pop back down here. Sorry about that. An if sanity check. And in this sanity check, we're going to check to see if the current sequence number, variable current sequence number, right here, is less than the variable of the number of mailings. Now if it's less than, we know we're not on the last mailing, so we want to increment the mailing date and the next sequence number that we'll be sending out. So we'll do a update campaign, update item, select the next mailing sequence, give it a calculation type, and we'll say that this equals current sequence number, variable current sequence number. We'll set this value equal to the variable current sequence number plus 1. Next field we want to update is the next mailing date. Now this field is this operation is a bit tough to figure out, and I had to look it up myself. So don't worry about really understanding what's going on here because it's a PHP code, and I don't expect you to know that. So just copy what I have here. DYMD string to time. And we're going to put in the campaign start date here. So basically what we're doing is incrementing the campaign start date by the number of days from start for the current mailing. So the campaign start date. And all these other characters are just concatenating the string or the command for Globiflow to understand. Hopefully I get this right. Now we have to say how many days we want to do this. So we'll use the variable days from start and concatenate days. Close that off. So that should work. Now I get a date here. It's not the right date, but at least it's a date and it's not an error. So we're good. Now the next field we need to update is the print field. So we'll use print, change that status to do nothing because we want to reset that. And then the status field, we'll change that status to active. It may already be active if it's the second mailing. If we're printing out the first one, the status might be hasn't started yet. All right, now we want to create a task to tell us when, or to remind us that we have a mailing to go out for the next mailing, not the current one, but the next one. So we'll assign a task to you or me. Print mailing. This is just the subject, the summary, so it can be anything you want. We'll just say print the mailing for campaign and sequence number. Campaign current next sequence number. Now the due date will be the campaign next mailing date that we just calculated here. You don't have to increment the days, time, doesn't matter. Now the full description, we'll just put something like print mailings for sequence number, and then campaign next sequence. You can put more information here. I mean, you can keep going down as far as you want. Put whatever there you will think will be helpful when you're looking at the task, so you understand what it is, so you don't have to click through it to find out what you're doing. So be as descriptive as possible. Okay, this is the end of this if block. It's all we have to do if the current sequence number is less than the total number of sequence mailings. So what we have to do is scroll down here and do an end if right there. Now our next item is we have to do an if and check to see if we're on the next mailing or the last mailing. So do an if statement, and we'll do something similar to what we have up here. We'll check for, get rid of that, close that. Check the variable current sequence number is greater than or equals the number of mailings. So this is saying that if we're on the last mailing, there are no more. And we're just covering our bases by saying greater than. If we're on the fourth mailing, there's no more mailings anyway. So this is just a catch-all to make sure we catch everything after the second to last mailing. Now we'll want to do an update again. Update item. And we'll set the next sequence, mailing sequence value to unset because there's no next sequence to be sent out. Now the next mailing date will also be unset. Nothing else to go out, so there's no next mailing date. We'll print status, set the value to do nothing. And finally the status, we'll set it to finished. That's all we have to do on this if block. There are no tasks to create. If you would like to create a task for some reason, like the next thing you want to do, like say review mailing list, then you can create a task here. So let's end the if. Now the next thing we do is we want to create the PDF. So we'll slide up here, find the create PDF or make PDF. Action. Now let's scroll down here so we can see it all. Now, file name, we can do mailing, variable sequence number, to make it simple. It's going to be a letter, Podio item, and now we can set this up by doing, now actually all we have to do is place the variable for the letter right here, like that, and you're done. Now as a preview, I'm not sure, let's see what this shows me. Probably nothing much because it doesn't have any content yet. We didn't send it any way, or it's not hooked up to any campaign right now. So that's the process. We can give it a name, print letters, and save. Now I understand that that was really long and very complex, and you're jumping in and out of different apps, and you probably don't understand what went on. If you do, that's great and wonderful. If not, and you have questions, email me at scott@strugglinginvestor.com or post a comment below. I'll do my best to help you out. So now on to the next video.